Hello everyone, welcome back. You're watching Empyrion Galactic Survival episode 185. I'm Enigmatus, and today we're taking a very brief detour from construction of the USS Discovery. Alpha 7 came down the other day, and with it, all of the previous saves from I think Alpha 6.6 and prior were basically rendered unusable, which is to say you could load saves, like I could load my old saves and be in the game and doing the things that you would do in the game, but every so often, and when I say by every so often I mean sometimes every second, sometimes every 30 seconds, but definitely at least once a minute, you would get a pop-up saying that there's an internal error and offering you the opportunity to do different things in response to it, which made playing the game a nuisance, and recording footage of building things in the game pretty much impossible, because the pop-up would just be there all the time. It would take an outrageous amount of time to edit. So the only real option that I had was to make a blueprint of what I wanted to keep, which included our progress on the Discovery up to that point. So we haven't lost any progress on that, and start over in a new universe with Alpha 7 and leave 6.6 behind, which is not that big of a deal, but I had to start thinking about the logistics of where we were going to continue the build of the Discovery. Now, obviously, we're in space, so the answer to that question is kind of, well, answered. It's been provided, but the reasoning behind it hasn't necessarily been provided. This thing that I'm building now is, call it infrastructure. It's a mobile point defense kind of thing. It's a capital vessel. It's not a station, so obviously we've got thrusters. We can move it around. It's going to have a lot of guns on it. Not necessarily every gun that it could have, but pretty darn close. It's made out of combat steel primarily, so that it's a little bit more robust than some of the other options might make it. And it's got all of the things that you need to move it around, plus a few things that you would like to have in space by way of survival sort of requirements. There's going to be an oxygen station on it, a med bay, repair station for your armor and weapons, if that happens to be something that you need, and something else that I don't even remember. Food storage. That's what it is. Essentially, pretty much everything that you need to keep alive in a survival environment will be on board and available to you, plus the ability to move it around as you see fit, and the additional benefit of spotlights that you can use to illuminate whatever it is you need to illuminate, because we're in space. We can't change the time of day in order to get the sun where we want it. It's just where it is, and it doesn't care where you want it to be. So you have a light side of things and a dark side of things. And if I happen to be wanting to show you guys something on the dark side of a thing that can't move around yet, it would be nice if I had a better light source than simply my suit light, because when you're building, you can't use your flashlight because you can't have it in your hands. So I wanted a platform, and by platform I mean a ship or a station or something that I would be able to use as a utility vessel in space. And in this case, it's small enough that I could have several of them deployed if I wanted to, and take advantage of everything that they could bring to the table. There's still AI ships, there's drones that we have to be a little bit aware of, and these particular kinds of little installations would do a nice job of taking care of those without too much hassle. So before we could continue with the build, we had to get ourselves set up. I made a blueprint of our base, the one that we had down on Oskatune. Big flat concrete platform, perfect for building whatever you want to build, but I couldn't place it anywhere. It was just too big, and the game didn't know what the hell to do with it. So it was basically done for. I could have spawned it in space, but by the time you bring it out into space, the purpose of having a great big flat platform to build on is kind of lost anyways. So it's not that big of a deal. Now, I should be pretty clear on this. If it hasn't been abundantly clear already, I'm not really playing the survival game these days. The game is technically in survival mode, but I'm using console commands that I originally started using in support of the video production end of things that basically make it so that I'm playing in creative even though the game says survival. For example, God mode was something that I started using to get around some of these really large builds. When showing you guys what was going on when I was doing those tours and such, it was much easier to be able to move around with God mode than it was to move around the normal way and use the drone with that hideous yellowish orangish overlay. Just because it's important to be able to show things clearly without spending all of your time getting into position and kind of doing things in sort of like a take-by-take scenario, which is extremely time-consuming and doesn't, I mean, it's worth doing, but if there's a better way to do it that doesn't require all that stuff, then it's definitely preferred. And so that's why I started using it, but it comes with the additional benefits. You don't have to worry about taking damage. You don't have to worry about food, oxygen, radiation, temperature, any of that. You just do what you need to do and not have to worry about that survival aspect of things. That's one of the big ones. But also, when you think survival, there's also the resource game and gathering the things that you need to build the stuff that you want. And that's kind of the limiter in terms of what you can build, is how many resources you have. But I've been playing long enough now and gathering so many resources and building so many big ships and then dismantling them that I've got this basically enormous pool of resources to draw from for any of my builds. But the actual process of dismantling the ships when I'm done with them so that I can gather the resources has grown to be such a time-consuming ordeal that I don't even bother anymore. I basically just use the console command that lets me pick and choose what I need from an inventory and build whatever I want to build with what I've chosen to build with. It's one of those things. So I'm not pretending that I'm playing in survival, and I'm not trying to portray something that I'm not doing, but I'm pretty confident that I've demonstrated in the past that it's really just a time thing at this point and not a capability. The number of times that a person has to restart in an early access game as a result of updates that render previous things obsolete is sort of inversely proportional to the enjoyment factor that you get when you suddenly realize that you have to start over again and you didn't really want to. It was a really bad time. So I'm building this ship in space with features that I don't really need, because what's the point of building it just to support a creative game and put lights in place? If that was the case, I would just build it with like 10 blocks, including thrusters, RCS generators, fuel tanks, and a spotlight and a cockpit block, and that would be my point lighting. But it's not quite as fun, and this was a little bit of fun, a little bit of a distraction from the other build, and a way to refocus on the minor annoyance of having to start over again. I mean, it was not that long ago that we had to start over for Alpha 6. So now we're doing it again, and we're doing our best to get back on track as soon as we possibly can. You can see we've got most of the things that you would want on a station like this, and in this case, creative or not. Weapon storage, if you're going to have weapons on the ship, is pretty much mandatory, otherwise the weapons on the ship are absolutely pointless. But one thing that's not necessary or mandatory is all this glass that you start seeing here. It took a long time to get all that glass in place, and I would have shown you what I got out of it if I didn't realize that I hated it and started over. So instead, I'll show you how we ended up after I took all of the glass away, replaced it with combat steel, replaced the guns that I'd already placed around the glass, and you'll get to see the finished ship. And oh, there's a blueprint in case you want one of these for yourself. You can grab the blueprint. It'll be linked in the information box below the video. So here's what it looks like when it's done. Painted black using some of the new textures, which you can't really see because it's space, but you get sort of an idea. Lots and lots of guns. Difficult to see except for the occasional bit of lighting here and there. We've got 4 spotlights on the front that you can use to illuminate your work projects, and all the entrances are really hard to find. So that's another good one. So the next episode, we're going to continue with the USS Discovery, and we're going to have at least one of these around to help us light it so that you can see what we're doing, and we're going to start working on that top section of the central sphere where we're going to put the bridge. And then once we've got that taken care of, we're going to start working our way back towards the central hull area and then off to the nacelles. So we've still got lots to do, but we're going to be doing it in space, and I think it's going to be fantastic and fun. So if you want to be notified about that and future videos in this series, the easiest way to do that is to subscribe to my channel or follow me on social media. Links for social media are always in the information section below the video. Feel free to leave your comments and feedback. You can watch me flying around in our little ship just so you can see it. It's fast. It's really fast. It accelerates to top speed in about 3 seconds, and it's highly maneuverable, which is kind of nice. If you need to maneuver it into a defensive position in a hurry, you can do that. So thanks for watching, guys, and take care.